there is many tendencies, as I say, like people describe themselves, give themselves values for, but also is a funny, the funny fact is that even that what they are defending is not even sustained by facts. Again, they just use narratives. Even you yourself, that you have not these narratives or these tendencies to create packaging information that you will repeat over and over and over to make a character that defends your individuality or personality, or a group of individuals, like feminism, for example. Most of the things they use are just literally the overvaluation of the social role in civilization. But they don't use any medical, biological, psychological, or even existential pragmatism, where they can really sustain their narrative in a solid basis. For example, right now when I was cooking the pizza of today, I was thinking, what is the real value of the feminine sex in that sense, or woman gender, you could call it like that in the biological sense. So you have in that, you have this genealogical genealogia. Yeah, the logic discipline that studies the origin of things. I just don't have the word right now, but that is what it means. So always you have a mother, father, and then you have son, daughter, and from daughter you have again sons. This is the breaking point. That is where the Bhagavad Gita starts. Is when Arjuna starts explaining to Krishna, hey Krishna, but if we follow this path, Krishna is already performing an action to try to dissolve or resolve the karmic generations or the cause-consequence scenario change reaction of events from the father-mother starting point. But Arjuna was abiding and living in the dimension where father-mother, they have daughter-son, and daughter has again daughter-son, and then they become father-mother. That's why their logic is confronting, because they are rooting their own even personality, character, into different dimensions or time lapses of the dimension of the human construct. The wisdom of yoga always is from the very origin of the construction of civilization. That is not a person having children, but that is the previous origin, you could say, biologically speaking, to the father-mother expression. So in that point, the woman gender or the feminine gender or whatever you want to call it, the female, is where it has its whole importance. Also, it's another starting point to redirect, reconduct, or resolve sociological issues. That is even easier than addressing it to the father-mother construct. Of course, when you are not aiming, but you are relating with it, it's not necessarily a task or a goal to do. There is many actions that cause ripple repercussions in many things, and it's not like it's your direct intention to try to modify them. It's just get modified by the interaction they have within the environment. But most of people that they are very conservative mindsets or in these conservational characters of their persona or their mind collapses, they take these identities of conservation identities, they see it in that way, they will always see it in this way. So that's why Arjuna tell Krishna, look Krishna, if we do this as you are saying it, we will continue the deprivation process that already starting from the point of the female gender starts, and then generates a cause-consequent repercussion that ends up in self-destruction. And in that part, Arjuna is true. But what Krishna is explaining to Arjuna is that have already happened. That's why he tells to Arjuna, how many times have been us here into the same situation, talking about the same time? It's not like, I'm talking to you about incarnation. No. Literally, since we met Arjuna, how many times we have not talked about this in many different dimensions and situations of the human structure existence? How many times have you not seen this repeating? That you are always fucking complaining with me that I tell you a knowledge and a wisdom that transcends all this dimensional structure. But this in the point when they got to the conflict of self-destruction, you have no more option than leaving it away or not renouncing to it without being attached to the consequence of the actions. So for example, the feminism or the persons that wants to give themselves a value because they are women, or because they are women, they know there is a value intrinsic to themselves that others need to respect. You will need to do these types of analysis to try to address to information that you can really use, and nobody can make a debate of it. Nobody can discuss it with you. It's like a sword cutting ignorance. Whatever you say, A, B, C, D, F, G, this package of information denies all of that and show it for what really is, and you either can run away from this truth or accept it and surrender to it, because it's a truth. It's not something you can choose about, like you cannot choose about any natural phenomena. So in this period of time, you can see most of markets are already taken, because they can be passed through a industrial process and automatized industrial process. The only markets that cannot be taken because they still require human interaction, and what they are trying to do is to deconstruct them, and even the interactions through artificial intelligences that just really they are just conducting you, making a mirror of yourself, and so you feel that you are accompanied by something, by somebody, like how they call it postizo in Spanish, like a postizo father, like something that is just making supplantar. Now I don't have these words correctly, but supplantar, look for it, supplantar. Something like, for example, they have this natural soap. I am supplantando the soap with something else that does the same thing, and another chemical, and maybe it's not natural, or maybe also is natural, but that is the action. So in that sense, in this part of the human construct structure, they are trying to, well, they whoever that are doing it, whoever that are addressing to the only markets that have not been industrialized because it requires human interaction and acceptance and living to do it so, no? And it costs all this time spent and try and failure experience. And also, like for example, sometimes here I make puzzles. I also speak in English. I make puzzles. I use different words to address the same thing. That now in these day media propaganda schemes, if you do that, people start mistrusting you. Like what they wanna see is just something that talks like in the full perfection of linguistical, grammatical correctness. If not, they lose the attention towards you. There's already a conflict in the mind of most of people. So which is this area, which is this market, the mental health market? Like you are, if you really are looking to talk with a person that will not do some variants in the way it explains the same thing, or even misuse concepts in a slightly mistake and then correct itself, you're an obsessive person, for example. So it's mental health here. Even I did the list. So very long videos seems to make a lot of problem, and so some music it is copyright, and the algorithm cannot process it. So I will do shorter videos. Will place neutral music, and adding up to the video just created from series of videos. This is the 11th of June broadcast. I try to make everything like a series of videos that you can follow part by part, like a story where specific certain broadcast information is being constructed by its same narrative and being proved, and its applications are being shown during its creation. So in this last video of the 11th of June, there will be more. There will be part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, because I do the broadcast the whole day. But it can be 1 hour, it can be 3 hours. So in that sense, Instagram or YouTube, they take a lot of time in doing the upload, and then at the end I cannot follow every day by day as it should be. But in this video of the 11th of June of this part 1, that show you this thema, the importance of creating a narrative that is root-based in nature, in reality, something you can prove by itself in an axiomatic way, using material of history, of philosophy, of religion, of cultures, that aims to show you in a scenario where you can find original point where you can start creating a narrative based in something that is a fact. If you don't do that, if you create a false narrative, you are a manipulator, you want to deconstruct society, you are ignorant, you are unconscious, you are in a delusional mind. And the point is that when you have a false narrative within yourself, you're following false step-by-step character creation or personality creation, that naturally, like everything you don't know, is a point in the space that you cannot perceive. So if everything that you don't know is a point in the space you cannot perceive, what will happen to you? You are creating loose ends. You are creating loose steps where you will loop yourself in them. You will get lost. So false narratives, that is the effect you have when you follow false narratives. So you need to construct a truthful, authentic, fact-proof narrative, not because will be the narrative that can behold the whole universe, not because at least in the line that you want to go, the tendency into you want to grow, is the one will not give you loose ends, will not give you loose steps. In the sense of the feminism or the value that a feminine gender has by itself, intrinsic to itself, it is rooted in this genealogy existence, the logic that studies origins, because in the feminine gender is where the origin of a father and mother that is a transgenerational repercussion that a woman can have children. That is where lies the importance, because you can say that the woman is the original point where a whole universe gets created, a whole universe of humans. Not the ones they already there, meanwhile she's having the children, but the ones will be there after their children become adults. So in that sense, the information you feed yourself with, the narratives you create, those will be the narratives that the next universe of humans, after the 3 generations you live among with your grandfathers and the children you're seeing in the street, they and you get to be a grandmother or grandfather, you will see how everything you were transmitting in that middle point will be recreated and projected into the next universe generation of persons, that they will have nothing to do anymore with the universe of humans you were already existing, and they were already existing meanwhile you were having the children. That is the real importance of feminine gender. Upon that, you can create a beautiful narrative, actually an existential narrative that protects yourself against lies, cognoscitive fallacy, but you need to study. Like, that is the card of the priestess. You need to have and withhold the knowledge of linguistics itself and how it decodes information from transgenerational succession of happenings to be able to perform that task. When not, then, well, there is people that does it even they are not woman. It's not for the woman to do it, but it's true that the woman itself, by its capacities in her body to create children, will be the character of humanity that is the most efficient to do it, because when you have children, the children are attached to you through the nourishment you give to them. So word through you to them will pass and cross easier their own individual barriers through this fact than if suddenly they just met somebody else, like me, for example, or they read a book and the same information gets transmitted. So that will be the real deal will be in a woman in that sense. It's just one of them, but it's a fundamental one. There is more. I mean, I'm not aiming here to feed you of every circumstance you can use. I mean, that will happen with the time. That's why this is a broadcast. It's not a film. I have not prepared any material to start talking to you. There is more central points that, of course, women and men can do both, and both are same effective and functional to do it, and even in their own body they have biological roots to be the most effective individual that can transmit something. The whole life is about transmitting, is not aiming to anything. It's not like you need to have an agenda to transmit something. It's not that you need to have an interest. You don't need to monetize it or anything. That's what life is about. Okay. If you want to be alive, you need to start transmitting yourself towards the others and let the others transmit themselves to you, and then to choose. That is also part of life. But that is the next level. You have not started transmitting anything, you have never been able to get to the next level of when you start choosing. If you choose through false narratives, you are even in a loophole where neither the first level you have achieved in that sense of what life means and represents.